Hi everyone, welcome to Algebra 2, Lesson 2-5, Example 4. In this example, we will look at the word problem to complete the square to solve the real world problem. Let's look at this example. Libby plans to create a rectangular pasturing enclosure. She has 340 meters of fencing available for the enclosure's perimeter and wants it to have an area of 6,000 meters square. What dimensions should Libby use? So first of all, you want to understand the situation and formulate your equations in order to solve them, right? So she has 340 meters of fencing available for the enclosure of the perimeter. Perimeter is the length outside the fence, outside the area, right? And wants to have an area of 6,000 meters square. And we're not saying she's going to have a perimeter of 340 meters. She just has that much available, right? So it's a rectangular, not a square, but it's going to be 6,000 meters squared inside. And the width and length are going to be able to get your area and also find your perimeter as well. Perimeter would be 2 width plus 2L, 2 length, right? So 2W plus 2L would be your perimeter equation. So first of all, you need to know these equations first and then fill in the information that we know already. So area would be 6,000 is equal to width times length. And then perimeter would be 2W plus 2L, whatever W and L are, right? And we know that perimeter altogether cannot be more than 340. So that could be an inequality. But let's think about that in our next step. So first of all, we can say that yes, it is equal to 340 because that could be our maximum length, right? So yes, it doesn't mean that we are absolutely going to have 340 as perimeter, but we can set it up as an equation so that we don't have to deal with inequality. But just keep in mind this is what we have, okay? What we have at maximum. And then and now you have this equation where W is equal to 170 minus L if you solve for it, right? Because we already know what the total perimeter could be at maximum. We can solve for W or L. And she wants the area to be 6,000 meters square. So you can also use this area model to fill in the equation, but we want one variable if possible. So we're going to substitute W with 170 minus L. And so L times 170 minus L would be the same as L times W. And that has to equal 6,000 as an area. So now we can we have a quadratic equation because if we multiply this out, distribute it out, we have 170L minus L squared. Now we're going to complete the square so that we can factor this out and solve for L, right? So here we're going to use the skills that we just learned, completing the square and factoring them out. So L squared minus 107L would be negative 6,000 if we multiply everything with -1, or if we just switch the sides, right? And then we can complete the square because negative b over 2 squared would be 7,225. We're going to add 7,225 on both sides and factor it out, L minus 85. And then we see that it's going to be a real number. 5,225 squared would be positive or negative 35. So L minus 85 is equal to plus or minus 35. We still need to solve for L, so we're going to add 85 on both sides. So we have 85 plus 35 or 85 minus 35. So the length could be either 120 or 50. But if the length is 120, your width is what? Your width is 170 minus 120. So that's 50. And if your length is 50, that means your width is 170 if your length is 50, right? So it's saying the length could be 50 or 120, but by definition, we know that the width is the shorter side. So we know that width has to be 50 and the length has to be 120, right? So that's what the interpreting step is going to be. When L is 120, width is 50. When L is 50, width is 120. So we know that the width is going to be 50 and the length is going to be 120, right? And in both cases, we have the area of 6,000 and the perimeter of what? 340 meters. So she should make two sides of the enclosure 120 meters long and the other two sides 50 meters long would be our final answer. Okay, so we need these steps. First, formulate, write the equations and set it up. Compute, you're going to solve it. And then the last stage would be interpret. And then after that, you can write your final answer in sentence. Because this is a word problem and you have to have a context in your answer. You can't just write an answer, write the number, right? It needs to have meaning. All right, so that was it for example 4. We're going to have you try number 4. So the relationship between the time since a ball was thrown and its height can be modeled by the equation h equals 32t minus 16t squared plus 4, where h is the height of the ball after t seconds. Complete the square to find how long it'll take the ball to reach a height of 20 feet. So see if you can first formulate and then solve, then interpret the solution. Pause the video and come back when you're ready for an answer. Okay, are you ready? All right, so we do have the equation already. And if you write this in standard form, you will have negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 4, right? And so you know a is negative, and so you know the graph is going to look downwards, right? And obviously your ball is going to go up and then come down, so that's not a surprise. H is the height of the ball, so your range would be your height of the ball. And then after t seconds, and that's going to be time, right? Complete the square to find how long it'll take. So how long is talking about what? Is it talking about the time or the height? It's talking about the time. So we're talking about x value. So we're trying to find x. So in other words, find x is what they're saying. How long would it take the ball to reach the height of 20? So find x when y is 20, right? Or h is 20 is what they're saying. So in other words, we have t and h. So we're going to say find t when h is 20, right? That's easy. You just have to plug it in. So h is going to be 20, and then we don't know what t would be, but we can write the equation down and solve for it because we already know how to solve for it. So 20 is equal to negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 4. We're going to complete the square, right? Is this completed? Well, first of all, you need to see if you can factor them out, because you want a to be either 1 or, right, you want a to be 1. So factor it out. Factor the greatest common factor. So 4, right? You can factor out negative 4. And so that would be 4t squared, 8, so that would be negative 8t, and then that would be negative 1 is equal to 20, right? And then you're going to divide negative 4, and let's put it on the, let's move this on the other side. So 20 divided by negative 4 would be negative 5. And so that's equal to 4t squared minus 8t minus 1. In order to use the perfect square trinomial, let's make a 1. Okay, so negative 5 is equal to, let's factor it even further. 4 times t squared minus, actually, we don't have to do that. You can, first of all, I want to add 1 so that we can get rid of that. And we have 4t squared minus 8t, right? And so negative 5 plus 1 would just be negative 4. And that's equal to, you can still factor it out, t squared minus 2t, right? And then you can divide 4 on both sides, and you have negative 1 is equal to t squared minus 2t. And now you can complete the square. Negative 2, negative of negative 2 divided by 2 squared will be 1 squared, right? So you're just going to add 1 on both sides, and that's going to be 0. T squared minus 2t plus 1. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then we're going to factor it out because this is a perfect square trinomial. T minus 1 squared would equal to 0. So t is equal to 1. Now we have the answer. We need to interpret it and write the answer down in a sentence. The ball will reach a height of 20 feet after 1 second. Okay. So that would be our final answer for try number 4. Check your answers, see if you got it right. And if you did, good job. We'll continue with our last example in the next video.